What is happening, YouTube, and more specifically the vinyl community out there? My name is Dylan Hayes, and I want to welcome you to the Hayes Vinyl Review channel. This is my very first video to do for this channel, something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've been following a lot of different people on YouTube in the vinyl community that like to showcase their collection and also like to talk about their favorite artists and those new releases and old releases. And so I wanted to join in, want to get on in the conversation with you guys. So thank you very much for joining me. I really hope you like this channel. Like I said, I just want to kind of get out there and introduce myself to you, showcase my collection to you, some of my favorite artists, and just review good music on the vinyl format. So basically, what I want to start out this channel with, and the first video that I want to do, is one of the more recent releases of my favorite artist of all time, and that is Elvis Presley. And so the album that we're going to be looking at today is the album that was released in August, I believe August 5th of 2016, and that is the Way Down in the Jungle Room session. So this album right here, like I said, was released in August of 2016, and it sort of encapsulizes Elvis's final quote-unquote studio recordings that made up his last two albums. So those albums being Moody Blue and From Elvis Presley Boulevard in Memphis, Tennessee. These recordings took place in February and October of 1976 in the famous Jungle Room, as seen in this picture here. So what I want to do is kind of break down this album, kind of track by track, also the presentation of it, just to kind of give you an idea, if you don't already have this album, why you should or why you shouldn't get this album. If you're already a fan of Elvis Presley, you more than likely have this in your collection, especially if you are an avid vinyl collector. But if you're just getting into Elvis's music, this is a good one to get because it gives you even more of a glimpse of the recording process and of the man himself in the more raw kind of, just jamming environment in his home. So we'll kind of talk about a little bit of the history of these recording sessions also. This has always fascinated me because Elvis, around this time, so like I said, 1976, this is probably just around a year before he passes away, or actually less than a year, I guess, before he passes away. And if you are an Elvis fan or you have a slight knowledge of what Elvis was kind of like in those past couple years, it wasn't the greatest as far as his career goes, but he truly still had that pure raw talent, and these recordings show that. And I think these recordings actually kind of give you even more of a glimpse of his mental state at the time, and the narrative that's been put out there about, Elvis was just depressed in his last couple years, that he wasn't really doing anything, that he was just kind of going with emotions and was really sad. I don't think that's necessarily true, and I think there's evidence to kind of prove that in these recordings. So like I said, these took place in February and October of 1976, and they made up these two last studio albums. So we've got From Elvis Presley Boulevard in Memphis, Tennessee, and then we also have the probably more famous Moody Blue album for the blue vinyl. I'll do a separate video breaking both these albums down as well, so we'll save that for a later date, but the tracks did make up these. But basically, around this time, I believe the last studio session that Elvis had done was to make up the songs for the album Elvis Today, with great tracks like Trouble, Pieces of My Life. Actually, one of my favorites is Woman Without Love, and it's kind of one of his underrated hits, but I really like that song. Anyways, jumping back to this album and these recordings. So Elvis at this time doesn't really want to go to the studio. He's not really feeling it. He does kind of like the comfort of his own home. And so I believe it was Felton Jarvis, Elvis's record producer, who came up with the idea of having an RCA recording truck brought down from New York City, drive down to New York City, and turn the Jungle Room into a recording studio, essentially. And for those of you who can tell from this picture a little bit, and have also been to Graceland or know what the Jungle Room is, it's pretty out there. Shag carpet on the floors, green shag carpet on the floors, shag carpet on the ceiling. But the funny thing is it makes for great acoustics, all the carpeted sounds. And then they went ahead and even amplified it and put blankets on the windows. So they drive the truck down and set everything up. The truck actually breaks down on the way there. It has to be towed into the gates of Graceland. They set up the recording studio. And through the testimonies of the musicians, so like Ronnie Tutt, who was there, Norbert Putnam, who played bass, David Briggs on the piano, they have talked about that they would get everything set up, and then Elvis would just kind of come down at his leisure. As we all know, that Elvis kept really odd hours. Come down at his leisure, and then they would go ahead, they would start jamming, and then laying down the tracks that he wanted to do. Some of the more iconic songs that have come off of these albums probably are going to be Way Down, which I believe was his last bigger hit before he passed away, Moody Blue, and then I would say probably the third one, or third and fourth, is For the Heart and Hurt. Great songs. So that kind of gives you just a little bit of brief history over this. What I kind of want to do now is break down the album itself, so the vinyl release itself. And I'm going to do something here that I wasn't planning on doing with this release, and that is taking the shrink off. I don't like to do that usually, just because you ever go to a record store or you find a record online that you've been looking for and you order it and it's in great shape, and you realize that the shrink's been left on it and the stickers and everything, and you think, wow, that person had such self-control, and I'm so glad that they did 40 years ago so that I could enjoy it. I kind of wanted to be that person for maybe 40 years from now when I pull out this release, but for the purpose of this video, I think I'm going to go ahead and take it off, especially so you can see the inside and kind of get a review of it. So let's kind of do that now. It might take just a second because you got to be kind of... Oh, it's coming off a lot easier than what I thought it was. Okay, let's see. Oh. Maybe. Stick with me, guys. Stick with me. Oh, there it goes. Okay, we're going to leave this here because it's got some important information on it. Okay, so this is the front cover like we talked about. Let's go ahead and open it up. It is... It's actually a pretty neat layout for what the estate has done recently with the newer releases. I actually like this one. Kind of gives you a full shot of the Jungle Room. Gives you the breakdown of the song titles, who wrote them, musicians, and then also the, I don't know, I hope you can see that, the singles, the pictures of the singles down here, as well as the albums themselves. And if you turn it around, then you can also see the track listings on the back. This, when it was released in 2016, was a two-part release. So I think first came the CD set, which is same title, Way Down in the Jungle Room, but it's a 2 CD set, and it has the original master takes of the songs and then also the outtakes. The outtakes are just what's on this album here. So opening it up, I know several of you guys are going to critique this part here, and I critique it also with a lot of new Elvis releases, and that is the white sleeves, the dreaded plain white sleeves. This is my one critique for the estate that handles the music, you know, whether it's Ernst Jorgensen or whoever is designing these. Please go the extra mile and put some nice paper sleeves that have pictures or something, even if it's just a picture of the albums themselves. That would be so much better than these plain white sleeves. Just being a tiny bit picky there. But I've already gone ahead and cleaned this one. And with all of my records, I go ahead and put them in Sleeve City sleeves, the Disc Keeper sleeves by Sleeve City. So as you can see with this album, they are on the vintage, more early 70s Elvis, or not really Elvis, but early 70s RCA Orange label. I kind of don't know why they did that either. I'm guessing just as long as the color scheme with the Jungle Room design. But really around this time, it would have been the tan label. So I kind of would have liked to see that on there rather than the orange. But the orange does look good. So the disc itself, it is 150 grams, so not 180 gram vinyl. I don't really know why they did that either. They should have kind of, I believe, gone ahead and went with just a little bit heavier heavier grade. But I believe in the UK it's 140, so beggars can't be choosers. I like the 150 over 140. Same thing on the other disc, but they do include this nice little insert. This is one thing I really enjoyed. So I love getting to see the picture of Ronnie Tutt and David Briggs, James Burton, and Norbert Putnam kind of now in the Jungle Room. That's pretty cool. And then here's a picture of what I was talking about earlier with the shot of the RCA truck parked in the back. I would absolutely have loved to have been in this truck just to hear the sounds in the raw, especially Elvis's powerful voice in the raw without any type of filters or any of that process just yet. Without Felton coming in and adding the overdubs of the strings or the horns or anything like that yet. But then on the back, it actually gives a very, very good breakdown from John Jackson that was written in June 22nd of 2016. If you get the chance, really read this. Even if you want to pause the video here and read this, or you can look it up online, or if you have the set, go ahead and read it. It's a very well done breakdown of these sessions, and I don't think it's biased at all. I think it is a very good critique of Elvis's last year and his last studio recordings. Of course, these are not his last album. Well, I guess it is before his death, because after his death came the Elvis in Concert Live CBS TV special, which we will talk about that later in different episodes, so stick with me. Okay, as far as what I think for listening, here it goes. I love when I first bought the CD set, loved it. I love the remastering from the Sam Phillips recording service that they did with the outtakes. Here is where I kind of get picky, okay? So the original masters, which are not on this, were not edited at all. They were not remastered. So it's really all the sets that you've gotten before. I believe the 2014 remaster maybe, or even some of the older ones, it's the same, which I would have really liked if they would have done the same remastering that they did at Sam Phillips for the outtakes for the masters. That would have been great. I think they could be a little bit livelier. I really do like the masters, but I think with today's technology we could really even do better. So that's my little critique there. But okay, sound quality on the CD set compared to the vinyl set. The engineering on the CD set for the outtakes, like I said, is fantastic. I love it. I really do. I think the bass gives a lot more punch. It's a lot heavier. There's a more full sound, especially when you're listening to it in an open room at a louder level, or even in headphones in your car, whatever. It sounds fantastic. There have been some critiques between these masters, the mastering on the outtakes for this one, and also the Jungle Room Sessions, the FTD CD set as well, with some differences there. I really like this. I like this a lot. One thing that I did notice with the vinyl set, though, was that the overall gain or the volume on the vinyl set is actually significantly lower than the CD set. I don't know the inner mechanics of what goes into that to change that, but I did notice a severe difference. I did transfer it digitally from my ATP L or 120, my Audio-Technica here, and then adjusted the gain to more of a standard level, and it's still lower than what the CD set is. So if you guys have any comments about that, or you know why that is, feel free to drop it in there. I would love that as well. I also noticed the same thing on the Elvis at Stax set that they did from 2014, I believe. Kind of lower in sound quality compared to the CD set. But going to the tracks, so we see it kicks off with Bitter They Are, Harder They Fall, take one. And I believe these are in order of the way that they were, the songs of how they were recorded in what numbered style. But one interesting highlight from Bitter They Are, Harder They Fall, and if you have this set, you already know this, or from the FTD set from years ago. It starts out, which I do love this song, but it starts out in a really good mood. Elvis is in a good mood, it sounds great, and all of a sudden the phone starts ringing. So that's a cool little, I guess, featurette for the album itself, is that you hear Elvis's telephone inside Graceland actually ringing. So it makes you wonder different things, especially for my history-focused mind, is like, who was calling? Did they not know about the sessions going on? Why did nobody think to unplug the phones? And then to hear life inside of Graceland itself. You go on a tour now and you can only kind of imagine what it might have been like whenever Elvis was there. This even gives you a bigger picture of what it might have looked like. So I really like that. But immediately after that, they start in again, and or they're about to start in, and the dog starts barking. So even more life, which I really thought was pretty cool. Goes down the list with She Thinks I Still Care, take 10. The Last Farewell, take 2. Solitaire, take 7. I'll Never Fall in Love Again, take 5. Moody Blue, take 1. For the Heart, take 1. Hurt, take 3. I did think that take 5 from the Searcher album, and also Today, Tomorrow, and Forever set sounds better, I think, than take 3, but it's nice to have it on here, a different take. Danny Boy, this was really cool, especially being able to hear Elvis talking with David Briggs about how he wanted to do it, or just wanted to do it on the fly. Never Again, Love Coming Down, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, which is fantastic. She Thinks I Still Care. This is more of the more bluesier version they did, which, you know, I kind of go back and forth on if I like the master better, or if I like the alternate version, take 2, better. It's Easy for You, take 1. Way Down, take 2. Pledging My Love, take 3. And For the Heart, take 4. So there's your track listings. I wanted to throw one more thing in here, and I don't know if this is fault of where these are pressed or Amazon in particular. I ordered this copy off of Amazon, and I had to order 2 copies. The first one I had to send back because when I opened it, several scratches and scuffs across the whole disc, on both discs, on each side. So I sent that one back. Got this one in, and I still noticed some scuffs, not as bad as the other one, so I kept this one. But then I noticed the same thing with the Elvis at Stack set. So, like I said, I don't know if it's from the pressing of these, or if it's in Amazon's fault, whoever it is, but just kind of wanted to throw that out there if you notice that as well. So yeah, that is essentially it for this first episode, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed getting a little peek into this album, and also a little bit of the history of Elvis and what's going on around this time. Stick with me. I'm going to do videos as well, break down more artists, more of Elvis's albums. There will be kind of Elvis heavy just because he's the main part of my collection, like I said, my favorite artist. But if you haven't picked this up, I definitely would recommend picking it up. It's a great listen. Start it from beginning to end. Just lay down, close your eyes, and just imagine what it would have been like in the Jungle Room. So thank you guys very much. Put your comments below. What'd you think? What do you think about Elvis around this time? What do you think about these recordings? I really want to hear both sides. I want to hear what your opinion is on this. So again, thank you for joining me. I'm really excited to keep doing this channel, and looking forward to joining you guys in this community. So thank you very much.